Hello peeps, so if you've been following my channel for a while, you may remember I uploaded 2 videos last year on restoring, rejuvenating, regenerating a neglected grapevine. So I will link those videos down below. You might want to check those videos out before you look at this one. But this grapevine has regenerated very well indeed. So of course, dormancy is more or less here. There's still a few, leaves on, but the majority have gone now. Grapevines require a period of dormancy in order to fruit. And what we did when we did it was we used these scaffold poles, in order to train it to, and some wire, washing line or whatever it was to tie it. The main leaders here. So you can see basically what I did was cut it back to the main leaders. I mean, there's an ash tree up there, as you can see, and it was growing all in amongst the ash tree. That all had to come down, all had to be sorted out. There's an elder here, and we left the elder here, just pruned it a bit, and we used it sort of like as a rustic support, so to speak, because the grapevine was, climbing in amongst it, whatever. And quite a few years not much was done to it, if anything at all. And cut out some dead bits as well, you can see down there, because once it was trained, I can see from the the traditional method of which grapevines are trained. You can see, look, so it comes out of there all the way along and all the way along there. So certainly a well-established vine indeed. And grapevines fruit on last year's growth. So envisage whatever, all of this growth here not being here, and all it was the main leaders. So these sorts of things, like from here, tendrils, vines, whatever, all these all grew during the last growing season. So this will have an abundance of fruit, of grapes on it next year. So more tendrils here. These can all be tied in to support, so they could all be sort of trained up there, so to speak, along there, things like this. But what will happen is the grapes will hang from little little things down like that when they come. So I'm expecting this year, next year rather, that this vine will be absolutely loaded with grapes. An established vine like this, you could be looking at well over 100 bunches of grapes. So don't know what variety it is. It's a pretty old vine, so I'd imagine it's one of the traditional varieties grown in the UK. Maybe Boskoop Glory, maybe is it Black Hamburg, something like that, although typically they are grown in a greenhouse nowadays then. But yes, so certainly has recovered very well from the harsh pruning it had, and grapevines generally will do that because they are incredibly vigorous. I do say to people, if they're going to grow grapes, be prepared to do some maintenance to it. I mean, they crop prolifically once they've got a bit of growth on them, they really do. And they can be just great things to grow. They grow very well in the UK climate. Some people think you can't because can't grow them here because they're typically associated with warm weather, of which of course grapes will do very well in warm long summers. Because if you think about the summer that we've just had, here in the UK, it was long, hot, warm by UK standards. And grapevines, I've got numerous videos I've uploaded this year, I'll link those down below. Grapes did incredibly well this year, whilst maybe certain grapes, certain fruits didn't do so well this year. People tell me that quite often their strawberries were a bit shriveled up this year, and raspberries. So we left a little bit of the previous year's growth on for this growing season. You can see it did have a few bunches here, but the priority with this vine was simply to get it restored into some sort of shape. So yeah, that's your vine. It's a dog barking there. Yes, I know. You're wondering what I'm doing. I'm aware of that. Right, so having a look here, nice leaves on here, and I'm just going to pan the camera. Another dog barking over there. You can just imagine what this will look like. All loaded with grapes next year. Hopefully I'll be able to get here next summer and I'll be able to film it in all of its glory. They look lovely, don't they, when they're old like this? Gnarled bark, look at that. You can hear them rooks in the background. Scaffold poles are brilliant for making supports like this. These are galvanised so they won't rust. They won't rot like wood inevitably would in the ground. Wood inevitably would. And so got it all round here, trained it all up here, managed to do it without breaking it. So yeah, if you've got a grapevine that's a little bit out of hand and you really, you want to be a bit brutal with it, you can see that this can be the result of doing that. So yes, it might look sparse and you won't get a crop the following year if you cut off all of last year's growth, but you still, if you wait a few years, the vine will be grateful for it and it will reward you with all these tendrils, which will then put out bunches of grapes. So I'm very happy about how this has turned out. You can even take cuttings as well. You can take cuttings of grapevines any time during dormancy, and what you do is you take a piece of last year's growth, the previous growing season's growth rather, so now we're in December, so anything that's grown from, say, March until now, whatever, previous growing season, there we go, and you cut off 4 buds, you get a pot of compost or a pot of soil, or put it in the ground, 2 buds below, 2 buds above the soil or compost, put them in, keep it moist throughout the growing season, of course make sure the buds are pointed the right way up, and you should be able to take a cutting. So you'd snip it about there, 1, 2 in the ground, 2 above. Take care, speak soon. If you like my work, please feel free to like, share and subscribe.